everyone. Welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Matt. And today we're looking at part 2 of making water fresh.
Yes, that's right. We're learning that water is a problem. We're running out of fresh drinking water or freshwater drinking water, the type of water that comes in lakes and rivers that we can drink, that's healthy for people and animals and our crops. Because of global climate change, weather patterns, rain patterns, we're having serious problems with this. And not only is it making forest fires and things like that much more likely, as we've seen in the news, it could eventually mean that people in huge areas of the world, up to 2 billion people, might have problems getting healthy, clean drinking water in the future.
Right, we've learned to create a global disaster, so meaning affecting people around the world.
That's right. Now, before you say, well, that's fine, we can all just drink Coca-Cola. No, that's not an answer to that problem. Plus, of course, we need fresh water to grow things on farms. And the water in the oceans and the seas, it's beautiful, it's lovely, it's great to swim and surf in. But with drinking, there's an issue.
Have you ever gotten a mouthful of ocean water while swimming or surfing?
It's salty.
Yes.
It might be good for boiling your pasta noodles. Salty water in your pasta, but not for drinking. No. It's not for drinking. So we have to find a way to get the salt out of salt water or ocean water to make it fresh water or drinking water. Now, there are 2 ways that we can do this.
The 2 ways we learned were thermal desalination and reverse osmosis.
That's right. Boil it, basically. That's the thermal, meaning heat. Boil the water, collect the steam. That has no salt in it. The salt stays in your pot or whatever. And then eventually you can drink the water now that it's nice and clean and salt-free. Or
reverse osmosis, where it's passed through a filter at high pressure and the salt stays on one side, the water moves to the other side.
Okay, a lot of people have water filters at home now, not to cut out the salt, but to cut out pollution and dirty things. Do you clean your water with a filter?
I actually only boil my water at home
so
now.
You're doing the thermal.
Yes,
okay.
Some thermal.
Let's find out the good things and the bad things with these 2 methods of desalination in our article.
At first glance, desalination seems like an ideal solution to any water crisis. After all, given the amount of water in the oceans, it essentially guarantees an endless supply of fresh water for humanity to use. However, there are downsides to desalination that need to be addressed, particularly as the process becomes more and more of a necessity.
Welcome back. We're going into our article, part 2 of Making Water Fresh. So, at first glance, desalination seems like an ideal solution to any water crisis. After all, given the amount of water in the oceans, it essentially guarantees an endless supply of fresh water for humanity to use.
Now, there's a lot of water in the oceans, and if we can find a way to take the salt out of that water, we will have so much water, it'll be crazy. It'll be a good thing, and the water problem will not be a problem.
So, they said the word essentially.
Essentially.
It essentially means an endless supply of water. So essentially means at its most basic or its core point. So it's used to emphasize that in its most simple way, this is what it does, or this is what it is. So for example, the 2 cars are essentially the same. So there may be some small differences, but when you break it down to the simplest way to look at it, they're the same pretty much.
That's basically the simplest idea or the most basic thing you need to know about it. And this will essentially guarantee we never run out of water. If we can drink the water in the oceans, there's so much of it that for millions or hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of years, we'll have lots of water. I guarantee. That means I promise you, all right? To guarantee, you're basically putting your word behind it. You're saying, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. This will happen. This will not let you down. This will not fail. I promise you, I guarantee. For example, if you buy it now, I can guarantee a good price for you. But if you wait until tomorrow, it'll be so expensive. So buy it now. Do go buy it.
So that's an endless supply of water for humanity to use. So humanity is the collective word meaning all humans or all people. Right. So humanity means everyone who lives on this planet, every human who's living now is humanity. For example, the hero of the story swore to protect humanity from evil.
Yeah, humans who live now, but also humans in the future. Just the human race. Human animals on the world will not have a problem with water, and that's good, of course, yes, for all of us, no matter where we are or who we are. However, this is the but. All right, however, desalination, great, water for everyone, yay! However, there are downsides to desalination that need to be addressed, particularly as the process becomes more and more of a necessity. Desalination as an idea is wonderful, water for everyone, but actually doing it in the real world, it's a little more complicated than that, all right? But it is definitely a necessity. A necessity is something that is necessary, something that you need, all right? Studying before a test is a necessity. You can't just go in and expect to pass. And also things can be necessities. Food is a necessity in your life. Clothing, a place to live, those types of things are necessities. Things that are necessary, things you have to have. For example, a good dictionary is a necessity when you are studying English. You can't just imagine what the words mean. You need a way to look them up and know, and a dictionary will do that for you. It's a necessity.
But I think more likely these days, that dictionary is probably just on your phone. So.
It's still a necessity.
Okay.
I don't care where it is, as long as it tells you what the words mean. And a break right now is a necessity for me. I'm gonna go drink some water.
You're gonna go get some water. Yeah, let's take a water break, and we'll learn more about these methods of desalination after the break.
Let's do it.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。看了第一天的课文，也许大家会觉得海水淡化似乎是解决任何水危机的理想方法。毕竟考虑到海洋中有那么多水，基本上它就保证有取之不竭的淡水供人类使用。不过海水淡化还是有缺点的，尤其当这种方法变得越来越必要的时候，它有一些问题是需要解决的。好，那先补充一下，我们在讨论某个事物的优缺点时，可以用到 pros and cons 来表达赞成及反对的理由，或是正反意见、利弊优缺点。好，其中的 pro 在这边是指优点、赞成的论点，那么 con 则是指缺点或是反对的论点。好，那我们再来看课文单字 essentially， 它表示基本上、根本上，是个副词。Matt 老师在讲解的时候，他用到 core 这个字 ，core。core 当名词可以指核心、关键。那 Matt 老师是把它用来当形容词，形容核心的。好，下一个单字 guarantee， 它是动词，表示保证、确保。那么 humanity 表示人类或是人的总称，也可以指人性。再来 necessity， 它表示必需品或者是必不可少的事物。那这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点是 given 加上名词，可以表达考虑到什么，有鉴于什么什么。其中的 given 在这边是当介系词去表达说考虑到某个状况的前提下。那我们来看两个例句哦。Given his work experience, he's a good fit for the job. 有鉴于考虑到他的工作经历，他是这份工作的好人选。再看个例句 ，Given that we don't have much time, we need to speed things up a bit. 考虑到我们没有多少时间，得让事情进行得快一点。好，那么接下来课文中。
One of these is the energy cost, which is especially true for thermal desalination because it uses huge amounts of power. Fortunately, these days, most plants use reverse osmosis, which requires much less energy. However, waste from both kinds of plants, in the form of large amounts of highly concentrated salt water, remains a big problem. This wastewater is generally returned to the oceans and can have harmful effects on sensitive ocean environments. Luckily, scientists around the world are hard at work on finding alternative, environmentally friendly solutions. More than 50 diverse desalination technologies are currently being researched, such as one that uses electricity to remove salt ions from salt water. And although these technologies are still in the early stages, a future with an endless supply of drinking water is looking much more like a certainty than an impossible dream.
All right, so let's find out about some of the problems with desalination. This is often the situation. Science says we got a way to solve a problem, but we're going to make a couple other problems by solving that problem. So let's look at some of the problems because no technology is perfect, but we can make them better. But let's find out. It says one of these problems with desalination is the energy cost, which is especially true for thermal desalination because it uses huge amounts of power. Absolutely, all of this science takes power, electricity to make the machines work, and when you're warming things up or when you're using an air conditioner and cooling things down, you need a lot of electricity to do that. And of course, electricity comes from power stations where we often burn oil and coal and stuff like that. So we could make our water nice and fresh without salt in it, but it's going to affect the environment in other bad ways. Fortunately, though, here's the good news. These days, most plants use reverse osmosis, the second filter method, which requires much less energy. You're not heating things up, you're passing them through a filter. It takes energy to pump the water to make the filter, but you're not boiling the water all the time. So of course you're using less energy, less power.
So using less energy, that all sounds great.
Yes.
And then we have another however.
Oh no, what's wrong with the reverse osmosis method?
However, waste from both kinds of plants in the form of large amounts of highly concentrated salt water remains a big problem.
True, the water that comes out is nice and fresh, but the salt and some of the other water is still left behind. What do you do with it?
So we're left with some water behind with a lot of salt in it. So this is concentrated salt water. Concentrated means that there is a high proportion of one thing in relation to another in a mixture. So we have things like concentrated fruit juice. When I was a kid, we used to buy frozen concentrated fruit juice when you would put this into a jug and you'd have to add water to make it from a concentrated mixture to make a normal tasting fruit juice, because if you were to just eat the concentrated fruit juice, it was very sweet.
Okay, like when you get your instant noodles, you get that little pack of flavor. And if you taste it, ooh, it's super salty. But if you put it in and mix in the water, now it's not so concentrated, so it tastes much better.
That's right. So concentrated fruit juice should be mixed with water before it is drunk. And of course, your instant noodle package should be mixed with water before they're eaten.
Otherwise, it's way too salty. And of course, if things are too salty, it doesn't taste good and it's really not good for you. So you can't just say, oh, let's just put more salt on our French fries. That's how, no, that's not a way of using the salt. So what happens with this concentrated salt water? This water that is very, very salty now, this wastewater is generally returned to the oceans and can have harmful effects on sensitive ocean environments. The water in the oceans maybe is 15% salt, let's say, I don't know, but if you put in the water that's 85% salt, it's really going to affect things. And of course, any kind of fish or plant or coral or any kind of ocean life that is in that area will die. I mean, this is the same problem as factories that use chemicals to make things. If they dump those chemicals right into a river or lake or the ocean, the animals in the area will suffer and could die. And salt, even though it's natural, we can't have all our animals, living in concentrated salt water. No good. Luckily, it says, scientists around the world are hard at work on finding alternative, environmentally friendly solutions. So the methods we have of desalination aren't perfect, but they work. We need to make them much better and more efficient, though.
So we need to find a way that we're not dumping highly salinated water into the ocean.
Exactly.
More than 50 diverse desalination technologies are currently being researched. such as one that uses electricity to remove salt ions from salt water.
Oh, interesting. So do it on a molecular level with ions. That's kind of like atoms and protons and electrons, that kind of thing. So another way of doing it that might work better and will also cost less in energy.
Okay, so they have diverse desalination technologies. So this adjective diverse means having a large variety or having many different kinds of something. So, for example, Taiwan's central mountains are home to a diverse range of wildlife, meaning that there are many different kinds of animals which live in the mountains.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And although these technologies are still in the early stages, a future with an endless supply of drinking water is looking much more like a certainty than an impossible dream. This is one of those things where I like to believe in the scientists and engineers. I mean, even 10 or 20 years ago, even 5 or 10 years ago, electric cars and power cell, the batteries can't take your car that far, solar charging isn't that effective. They've made a lot of these things work a lot better than they did just a short time ago. So I'm hopeful that this will work. Now let's look at our what do you think question. What are some other ways to help avoid a global water crisis? If you're not a science genius or an engineer, just a normal person.
Well, I still like to hope that maybe we can help to slow down global warming by doing things in our daily lives, like using less energy, using less air conditioning, for example, by using fossil fuels and things like cars and other things that burn fossil fuels and pollute the environment. So if we try to do things in our own life, maybe we can try to stop these droughts from happening where we'll actually need this desalinated water in the future.
Absolutely. We waste water in so many ways. So even if we're going to be drinking seawater in the future, if we can keep the fresh water we have now in the system, this will benefit everyone in the future. All right, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth, and we'll see you back here soon. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
好，那我们就来看看海水淡化的缺点。课文写到，其中一项缺点是能源成本，尤其是热能海水淡化，因为它会使用到大量的电力。那幸好现今大多数的海水淡化厂都是用逆渗透，所需要的能源少很多。不过这两种海水淡化厂产生的废弃物仍然是个大问题，也就是有大量的浓盐水。那这些废水通常会回到海洋里，可能会对敏感的海洋环境产生有害的影响。Mike 老师就提到可能会对鱼类啊、珊瑚等等造成影响。那补充一下 ，coral C-O-R-A-L coral 它就表示珊瑚的意思。再看到单字 concentrated， 它是形容词，形容浓缩的、密集的或者是集中的。好，课文最后写到，世界各地的科学家正在努力寻找可替代的环保解决方案。那目前有50多种各式各样的海水淡化技术正在研究当中。像其中一种呢，是用电去除盐水中的盐离子。虽然这些技术仍然在初步阶段，不过看起来它是有可能实现的梦想哦。我们来看看单字 diverse 或是念作 diverse， 它是形容各式各样的、不同的。那它的相关词性 diversity 或是念作 diversity 就表示多样性，是个名词。好，那文中的 ion 或者是念作 ion 表示离子。好，这时候 Mike 老师他就有提到 atom 是原子 ，electron 电子。Proton 是质子，老师还有用到 molecular M-O-L-E-C-U-L-A-R molecular 它是形容分子的，那它的名词是 molecule M-O-L-E-C-U-L-E， 那这时候它是当名词表示分子的意思。好，另外 Matt 老师在回答 What do you think question 的时候呢，就有聊到说要减少化石燃料的使用。那么 fossil fuel 就是化石燃料，其中的 fossil 我们来拼一下是 F-O-S-S-I-L， 它就表示化石。好，最后两个重点我们要进入文法时间。 好，来看第一个重点是 amount 的常见用法。首先 amount 它尤其是指不可数事物的数量啊、总数。这时候我们常常会用 an amount of 加名词，或者是 amounts of 加上名词来表达什么什么的量。那么它前面常常会加上 large、huge、great、small 等等来表达数量的多寡。像我们说 a small amount of liquid 少量的液体。Huge amounts of power 大量的电力等等。那特别注意，以这个片语来当主词的时候，动词单复数是要依 amount 或者是 amounts 来做变化哦。举例来说 ，large amounts of money were spent on the project， 或者是说 a large amount of money was spent on the project。那项专案花了很多钱。那第二个用法呢，我们用 the amount of 加名词，用来表达不可数名词的量时。这时候用这个片语当主词，就要搭配单数动词咯。举例来说 ，the amount of exercise you need depends on your age and other factors。你需要的运动量取决于年纪和其他因素。好，第二个重点是。Look more like A than B 表示看起来比较像 A 而不是 B， 其中的 look like 加个名词就可以表达看起来像某个东西。那么 more like A than B 用于比较说某事物它的不同特质，只说用 A 来形容某人或某事物比用 B 来形容更贴切。例如 The building looks more like an art museum than a library。那栋建筑物看起来比较像是美术馆而不是图书馆。好，以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
At first glance, desalination seems like an ideal solution to any water crisis. After all, given the amount of water in the oceans, it essentially guarantees an endless supply of fresh water for humanity to use. However, there are downsides to desalination that need to be addressed, particularly as the process becomes more and more of a necessity. One of these is the energy cost, which is especially true for thermal desalination because it uses huge amounts of power. Fortunately, these days, most plants use reverse osmosis, which requires much less energy. However, waste from both kinds of plants, in the form of large amounts of highly concentrated salt water, remains a big problem. This wastewater is generally returned to the oceans and can have harmful effects on sensitive ocean environments. Luckily, scientists around the world are hard at work on finding alternative, environmentally friendly solutions. More than 50 diverse desalination technologies are currently being researched, such as one that uses electricity to remove salt ions from salt water. And although these technologies are still in the early stages, a future with an endless supply of drinking water is looking much more like a certainty than an impossible dream.
Hi, I'm Toi.
I'm Josh.
I'm Kiki. I'm Carolyn.
And today we're playing Undercover. And so we each have a word on the card. 3 of us have the same words. 1 of us has a different word. And we have to figure out who the spy is. And so we will go through 2 rounds of giving clues, and then we'll guess who that spy is. You ready to start, Josh?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. So, this can change your life.
I call my mom whenever a moment like this happens.
When everything goes wrong in the office, this happens.
Sometimes when I'm not sure what I'm going to wear, I have one of these.
Okay, round 2.
You don't want to miss these.
I usually panic whenever this happens.
Sometimes people get to a certain age, this happens, and they make rash decisions.
If a country has one of these, they might call in another country to help them.
Okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to point to the person who we think is the spy. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Josh, reveal your word.
Well, my word was opportunity.
My word was crisis.
My word was crisis.
My word was crisis.
Okay, so Josh, why did you point to yourself?
I just thought that the descriptions you guys were giving did not fit at all. And I wasn't sure if I was meant to reveal myself, but yeah, it just didn't feel right.
Okay, well, for me, I thought Carolyn and Kiki gave similar descriptions as I did. Like when a country is in a crisis, they have to call other countries. I forgot what you said. But
Midlife crisis.
midlife crisis. Okay, Kiki, what about you?
Well, I think at first, because Josh started, I thought we were all, your first description was really similar to ours.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was kind of different. What did you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I had my suspicions at the beginning, but then they were confirmed when you did your second round. Definitely.
But Josh, what were your 2 clues?
It was this can change your life. So an opportunity can change your life.
Yeah.
Or the next one was you don't want to miss them. So you don't want to miss an opportunity. You always got to take advantage of an opportunity.
Okay, so yeah, the first one with you saying an opportunity can change your life, I thought it was very similar to all of ours, right?
Yeah, well, they both can, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
you did not do a good job like hiding that you were a spy.